in a game where the core premise is a social contract, where you don't win games because you're withholding something to reveal at the absolute perfect time. Nobody gets to shout, "You've revealed my trap card," unfortunately. A game like this needs good communication. It needs people who speak to one another, share things with one another. It needs people that are being the best that they can be. In a game like this, you can't just have good game knowledge. You can't just know your opponent's data sheets. You need more. You need to be able to communicate. Hello everybody, my name is Jay. I'm the rank 2 Tau player in the South Pacific and the top 50 in the world. And welcome to today's video where I'm going to be discussing how I communicate at the table and what I've done to give myself the best opportunities to be able to win games. Now, everything I'm going to be talking about, if you've been following me for a little while, you've seen my other videos and you sub to the channel, ballers, by the way, you'll know that all of my content is intended to be good, actionable information. Stuff that seemingly nobody else is talking about. Everybody talks about why, this army's strong and this army got nerfed and everything else. But nobody actually tells you how to win games. Nobody walks you through that sort of stuff. And so that is the premise for this entire channel. Hell, it's the premise for the studio that I'm building. If you'd like to be a part of that, then stay tuned. I've got a message from first, my sponsor of the video, which small channel with a sponsor, I know, it's wild. And the second part of it will be talking about the upcoming launch of my Patreon, where people can be on the ground floor with creating something alongside me and getting some exclusive and awesome stuff in the process. So, communicating is something that I've always been good at. It has been a strength throughout my entire life. And it's something that has meant that really I've lived an easier life than I might have otherwise, because I have had, for those of you who know me, I have a military background. And for anybody who's been around the stereotypical army guy, not the best communicators, not big on talking about their feelings or, whatever else. I have a little bit of experience from both sides of the fence, and I can honestly say that I have had an easier time, or maybe had less mistakes, or maybe had people respond to me in a way that was my choosing, even if they didn't realize that they were just responding to the way that I was communicating with them, and they started picking up what I was putting down. And that is something that in this game you can absolutely use to your advantage. One, just to determine tactical knowledge and make better decisions, and two, have a great game with an opponent. You're going to spend 3 to 4 hours together. You may as well enjoy the process. And that's not to say that every single person is going to be won over by your incredible charisma and amazing personality, because let's face it, there are some people who are just straight up dickholes, and I've had my fair share of them. But I would like to think that we can be the change that we would like to see in our community. And if we all communicate well and we treat this game in the best possible way, then we're going to be creating the best possible experience for everybody that engages in it. So, let's get down to brass tacks. One of the first things, and this is almost universal, I won't need to change this too much, but there will be some differences depending on army. When we're setting up, I will ask them, do you have anything that can advance and charge? Do you have anything that can advance and shoot? What's the closest range you can deep strike into me? Do you have any Auspex abilities, which is, if I come down from deep strike, you're able to shoot me immediately. What's the range on that? These are things that can set you up in a really, really great way, because if they say, yes, I'm an Orcs player, and when I declare the war, everything can advance and charge, then I know that when that gets called, but let's face it, it's probably turn one, that I need to be a little bit more cagey, or I need to be careful, or I need to protect myself in a way that, I might not have to when that's not on the table. It means that I can make decisions around that ability that really help me in my particular army and style. I will ask them their weapon ranges. I will make sure that I know that if his entire army shoots at 18 inches, then I am just going to go, cool, active salivation, and I will run the board, because I know that my ranges are 30 inches and 72 inches and whatever else based on the list that I run. So these are questions that can immediately let you know the game state, because let's say I didn't ask that. You don't ask your enemy's weapon ranges, and then you spend a turn cagey at the back of the board. They don't do anything, and you get to the end of their turn just going, oh crap, I could have been on that objective, I could have been on that objective, I could have gone here, I could have been occupying that building, ready for a counterpunch. There's so much that you can do with knowledge. To borrow a phrase, knowledge is power. So a few other things that I tend to communicate with my opponent, and this one starts to get into a little bit of psychology, is that I will create a trust relationship with my opponent, and I will also inform them and never assume that they should just know my data sheets, or that if I tell them something once, that they are going to just retain that for the entire 3-4 hours that we're together. So here's an example of the way that I will approach when I'm about to shoot somebody. Hey mate, so because I'm using the Fire and Fade stratagem, my crisis suits have to be the first to shoot. So this is going to be 10 shots. Double plasma, resolve the plasma first because of the wounds of your models. Because of the buffs that I've given them, Shadow Sun's giving them full rerolls to hit. Long Strike is giving them auto wounding 6s. And I've also thrown in 2 differently colored dice. One of my suits doesn't have a target lock and has a shield generator instead. So against those 2 dice, you will get light cover. Against the others, you won't. Okay? Because of the marker light, hitting on 3s. So as you can see, I went through my number of shots, the buffs that were on the unit, and went through, before I just rolled for the wound step, asking them what the toughness of their models are, what their save values are, and then quoting to them when I'm picking up my dice, saying you have X number of saves. This is AP4 because of the weapons that they are. Every fail is 3 damage. It gives your opponent so much information, and it stops unnecessary misunderstandings and arguments. And if everybody does this, because I've been on the receiving end of the opposite, and I can tell you it feels horrible. Asking an opponent, oh, hey, so I've got like 10 dice here. What damage are these? And they go, because they're quoting out a bunch of different weapons that have just attacked me. And then they go, oh, it's damage 4. It's damage 4, all of it. And I'll go, okay, I mean, obviously you don't say this to your opponent, but, you know, I shouldn't have to know all of your data sheets. There are so many armies, there are so many units, there are so many models, there are sweep profiles and single target profiles, there are all these different things. And let's be honest, bro, you don't really communicate with me. If you're not willing to talk about the things you're doing, how am I expected to know what it is you're wanting? Now, this brings us into the second thing that I wanted to talk about, and this might be a topic for a whole video on its own. It's playing by intent. Playing by intent is how every top level table runs. It's how the highest level players that I rub shoulders with all the time will play their entire game. You play by intent. Now, that's not to say that we don't measure distances. That's not to say that we don't play by the rules of the game. But if I'm walking around the table and we're at the 2.5 hour mark and both of us are, you know, ready to get hydrated and, you know, maybe go and sit down or whatever else, and I see that a guy's bases on some models are touching a piece of terrain, I'll walk over and go, hey, was your intent for them to be touching that? Because I'll be able to see you and I'll be able to shoot you. Most of the time, the opponent will turn around and go, oh, no, I don't want you to get free shots. They're supposed to be just off the wall. And I'll be like, yep, cool, no problem. Especially if somebody moves them up and they state their intent, if I forget it or whatever, if they're like, oh, yeah, my intent was for them to be just off the wall. They're sitting there ready to go on to that point, but they're not looking through yet. I don't want to win a game by a niggly little thing like that and being like, nope, I get to shoot them. You know, they're touching it. That's the rules. Because they haven't made a tactical choice and I've outplayed them. That's just me exploiting the fact that maybe his models got bumped or moved or some mindless thing that, you know, wasn't a part of the intent of the play. And in doing so, because I am good to my opponents, generally they're good with me back. If you forget something in a previous phase and they're like, hey, I forgot to R&D in this quarter over here. Do you mind if I do that? They didn't shoot. It doesn't change the course of the game. I will absolutely let them do it. And that's not to say they get to take back everything. If it's going to change the course of the game, if they shot with them or charged with them or fought with them or whatever, that's not something I just let them take back. It's not being walked on. But intent just makes the game state so much better. It means that the game becomes about tactical decision making and not about gotchas and catching your opponent out. And on the topic of gotchas, if they're about to move on to a point, let's say they're in range of my Kroot Carnivores, they, get them to within 6 inches of them, I will say, hey, just so you know, I've got a 1 CP strat where they can heroic 6 inches, they'll get an extra attack. So if that changes what you'd want to do, more than happy for you to walk that back and work out something else. And if they say, no, I'm happy for them to be there, you can heroic into me, and, I'm fairly confident that you won't be able to kill me and I'll just kill you in return, then that's a choice that they're making. But I won't let them do that, having never said anything about that stratagem and then pulling it out. It is, and I said it before, but I play this game wanting to be the person that I would like to be across the table from. I want to be that person. Somebody walks away from a loss and this has been fantastic feedback that I've gotten on so many of my games, that you were a brutal opponent, but you were a gentleman. I really had fun losing to you. Now, you won't get that all the time because, let's face it, some people are poor losers. But that to me is the best possible state of 40k. And I try and be the same back for anybody who's been gracious in victory. And there are so many good people with that. And it's my hope that if people communicate just a little bit better all the time and improve these skills, because they are not something that everybody is born with. It is something that is developed and worked on all the time. And not just here, it will improve your personal relationships, your career. These skills are universal. So, I know this was a little bit of a shorter one, but thank you so much for sticking it out. Now, a word from today's sponsor and the friend of the channel, Irresistible Force. Irresistible Force are a local gaming shop out of Logan in Queensland, Australia. They are an incredible store which specializes in 40k, D&D, everything tabletop. You will literally not find anywhere else in Australia that has a larger range of Games Workshop products, among other things. Also the training ground for some of the Australian players that were on the Australian WTC Championship team. And for anyone outside of Australia, don't you worry, because Irresistible Force are amazing. They ship worldwide. As many of you know, local gaming stores are the lifeblood of our community. And supporting them quite literally keeps open some of the places that are such fantastic havens for people to go and express themselves and enjoy the tabletop games that they love. Speaking of, Irresistible Force has a multitude of gaming tables for people to go in and enjoy themselves. So if you're in Queensland, if you're traveling through there, if you're anywhere near Logan whatsoever, head on in, say hello to some of the friendly staff and get yourself a table and play with some friends or pick up some new friends. Local gaming stores are one of the best things that we can keep alive, and Irresistible Force, through their sponsorship with me and through your support, can remain as that. All right, thank you, Irresistible Force, for sponsoring the channel. I can't believe that a small channel like mine picked somebody up, but it's just a testament to how great local gaming stores are. They literally are the lifeblood of our community. So go and check them out. There'll be a link in the description. And I hope you guys enjoyed the video. We have a lot of exciting content coming up, so make sure you do the internet things down below. Commenting and liking. You'll see on all my previous videos, I respond to as many comments as I can with questions that people have. I'll also be launching a Patreon very soon. After I released the list repair video, I was bombarded with so many people that needed help, and I just literally couldn't get to them all. There was no way for me to do it with life and career and everything else. I just don't have the time to get to everybody. But what I will be doing is dedicating an entire tier in the Patreon to people that want that specific service. And those people, not just getting their list repaired, they will be helping me build my studio among all the other patrons that come in and jump in at the ground floor and help me create something awesome. We have so many exciting things in the works. Not just 40k content, but D&D content as well. As part of my Patreon launch, I will have 2 of the classes that I've designed and play tested, the Way of the Weave Monk and the Sunkeeper Paladin, which will be absolutely free for any patron member at the lowest tier or higher. And that'll be yours for free forever. If you're a patron, you will get these releases as I release them. Coming out, I have the Viper Rogue, the Oasis Druid, and a number of sub-races and creatures that I've been creating for my own world, Arania, which has had 4 years of play with 2 groups going through. So I'm very excited to unveil some of that stuff and have you guys get your teeth into it and use it yourself. There'll be more D&D content which is coming up as well. So if you're interested in that, and there's a lot of overlap found between tabletop enjoyers. If you're interested in D&D stuff, be subscribed as well. The quality of the content that I'm trying to bring to 40k is the exact same quality that I want to bring to D&D, be it DMing advice, be it player advice, be it whatever. So with all that said, thank you very much for making it to the end of the video. You are absolutely amazing. And I'll see you guys in the next one.